Good
Happy
morning.
day.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say happy Monday, but good morning hospitality on a Tuesday. This is just
At
wild.
least it's
Metaverse.
morning. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's almost
no.
3 o'clock.
For you. So one, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you're tuning in from. Uh Will Slickers, Michael Golden coming in on Good Morning Hospitality. We're both a little sleep deprived due to some travel, but Golden, your background is completely different. And I would love to know, where are you?
I am at a
Look at that.
storied property. It's called the
An
Gilmerton
official,
House in Scotland.
an official storied property. I
One of
love
the
it.
first.
One of the first, and we're seeing it for the first time here on Good Morning Hospitality.
Absolutely. Gorgeous place. Dates back to the mid 1600s. It's nice
Yeah,
and
give us
quiet
some
out there.
history. Give us some history. What's going on? Like, how old is, or you just said the 1600s, but give us some
1650,
background.
Sir Francis Kinloch was the original owner. One of the cool haunted stories is in the 1700s, one of the brothers murdered the other on the staircase just down the hallway from me. So
That's wild.
rumors of being haunted. But it's been in the same family, the Kinloch family, for the entire time since the 1650s. So
Jeez.
very cool, gorgeous place, well taken care of. Altito actually manages it, so shout out to them. They do a great job. But
Awesome.
gorgeous place and very fitting to do a live episode from.
Seriously, the first story property that we're seeing. Uh, I hope you don't get a tap on the shoulder from the brother who died on the staircase while we're recording. That would be a little intense
Yeah.
for my taste. I'd be like,
Well,
hey,
the sun's
we gotta
still
go.
up, so I think those weird things happen late at night. But I'll
True.
let you know.
Yeah, let
And
me know how your first night goes.
if I sound like I am clueless today, or if I have tons of bags under my eyes, I landed this morning, so I haven't slept since I don't know, almost 36 hours. So apologies if I either run on or am slightly incoherent today. But on that, I'd like to touch on some travel etiquette. So
Let's do it.
when you sit down in your chair, particularly on your flight, particularly on a long haul flight, don't immediately lean back and not ever sit it forward the entire flight, especially if the guy behind you is over 6 feet tall. It doesn't need to be reclined for 6.5 hours. It doesn't. Have courtesy. Sit it up every now and then. It's good for your circulation, good for your back. Do not be that person. I've seen 5 foot tall women do it. I've seen 6'5" tall men do it. It doesn't matter. Be courteous. I'm 6'2". I don't lean back the entire time. I do sometimes. You want to catch a few Z's. I don't sleep on planes, but I try. But don't do it. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. It's not cool. Have courtesy.
I don't do it until we are in the air and allowed to go back. I don't do it before takeoff. But I am that guy. Unlike you,
Do
can
you do
actually
it the
fall
entire
asleep.
flight?
If I'm asleep, yes, I will be back the whole entire flight until I'm told to recline up because I'm sleeping. If I'm not sleeping, like last night on my flight from Dallas to Denver, I was up all the way the whole time. I watched a movie because I couldn't sleep. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're in my lap and you're in front of me, your chair will accidentally get bumped numerous times. And if you get up to go to the bathroom, I will touch the button and let the seat come up because it is not cool. The guy in front of me, this flight, didn't get up the entire time to pee. Sat down the entire time, leaned all the way back. What a jerk. If you're listening out there, I hope you give me a call.
I was gonna say, it's so funny. Well, going into two episodes ago, we had Sarah Danishi on the show. You were out sick, but we're talking about all this travel. What to expect with travel over the summer. number one thing to pack was patience. And so it sounds like Mr. Golden needs to practice some patience with his flight.
No, it's not
But
patience. It's not patience. It's
wasn't
courtesy.
yes, no, I was just joking. But the number one thing I'm seeing that we both were traveling and no cancellations. Did you have any delays? Anything crazy happen with luggage? All as well?
Well, I haven't checked a bag in 25 years, so no issues with luggage. Um, but no, every flight seemed on time, and airports weren't chaotic. Breezed through security. I got
Yeah.
there really early in fear of it, but I ended up being there really early. So,
Yeah.
yeah, nothing to fear. I've heard horror stories in the UK, but I'll let you know next week on my way home.
Yeah, and say I got to the airport early and I texted my friend who dropped me off and was like, I literally breezed through TSA within seconds. Literally seconds. There was no line. And it
Yeah.
was the 4th of July. So granted it was a Monday, but I
Well,
was
we were
kind of
on the phone
surprised
with
that,
one another. I said, "Hang on, I got to go through security," and I called you like 60 seconds later.
yeah,
Piece of
seriously.
cake.
Yeah.
So back to the not sleeping on flights thing. An article caught my eye last week that I love, and I hope this comes to market, especially in the US for the long haul flights to Europe. But it's a company out of, I think it's New Zealand Air or something.
Mm.
But they are basically putting bunk beds in planes, not to be used the entire time, but in 3 or 4 hour durations. And then you can rotate, change the sheets, let someone else get down there. If I could have like a full bed, I could probably sleep on a flight.
Mm.
But like even the lie flats in first, they're not long enough for someone who's tall and can't get comfortable. So I love that concept. Why not just stack bunk beds? People will pay more money to rent those. Uh, feel refreshed when you land, or at least semi-fresh, versus
Yeah.
looking like this and sounding like this. But I think it's the super cool thing. I mean, technology on how airline seating has to be changed, has to be updated. Just sitting in a chair for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours is very hard. So here's a picture of what these bunk beds could look like, or maybe they do look like on this new airline.
So my
But it
thing would
makes sense.
be, is there like a minimum flight requirement, like hour length, trip, or anybody could just rent one of those?
Well, the article it's out of New Zealand, so I'd imagine nearly every flight from New Zealand, aside from maybe an hour or two to Australia, is probably pretty far. So
Yeah.
geography plays there. But I mean, these planes that have Delta One and all the lie flats on them, just drop in 8 or 10 bunk beds in the back of the plane, and people buy that all day long.
Yeah. I just felt it was interesting for this to be picked for economy. It's not something you'd expect an economy class ticket to have.
Well, it's an
You
add-on. It's an add-on.
okay?
Yeah. So you pay extra. If it's a 10-hour flight, they're going to sell 2 segments of 4 hours.
Gotcha.
So they can turn it. You can get your a decent amount of sleep, and then let someone else have their turn. But I love it. I think it's great. Airlines need to be innovative.
Yeah.
Big fan, New Zealand. Big fan.
Yeah, especially after the trip that you just had. So makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Dude, you were at High Tech last week. Tell us some highlights. What were people talking about?
Yeah, high tech was interesting. You and I are more used to, I would say my first conference experience was short-term rental focused. So go to a hotel one. It's very different. This was a huge convention on the side of normal events I'm used to going to. So the one big takeaway I think was in person's definitely like coming back, which I'm excited about. I like getting to meet everybody again. for me, it was interesting though, because we think on the short-term rental side that the vendors are very heavy, right? VRMA, other conferences, it was like, man, where's all the operators at? Um, it was double the amount of vendors to hoteliers. And so for me, I kept getting the looks because as you have your exhibitor badge on, as you're going to booths and walking around, people get all excited until they saw your badge, and then they're like, "Nope, get out of here,"
I
because
want
there
to
was
talk.
barely, yeah, there was barely any hoteliers in my opinion. But this was a huge convention hall, like,
I would guess two things are going on there. It's a sign of the times. Like hotels are still understaffed, so they can't send people to luxury offsites.
yeah,
And two, the revenues may not still have caught up from pre-COVID times. I think the
yeah,
revenues this year are probably getting close to where they used to be, but maybe they've just trimmed some budget to try and recoup some cash lost
for
during
sure,
the past couple of years.
yeah.
I wonder if you ask someone who's been going to it for a while if it's always that way. It may be.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people that I talked to that have been there before were there post COVID, so they're comparing it to 2021 or when I think they had it right before COVID hit in 2020. Um, so not really a long comparison. I will say the tech stacks of hotels are very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that when I was walking the exhibitor hall, I was like, is that really needed for a hotel? Like, do you really need this? Like, is it that hard to automate through your PMS or do this and do that? So again, very interesting to see comparatively to like the short-term rental side. Um, but from overall perspective, I did get to learn a lot of new tech stuff. We were there with UTIP, who is becoming a network sponsor. And so UTIP, had us in at their booth, and we were doing a podcast station where we were just grabbing people left and right. I think in the first day we did like over 15 recordings throughout the 4 podcasts that were there. And granted, they're very quick, it's 5, 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes at most. But got to see Steve Davis from Operto again. um, Little did I know that I interviewed Jeff Driscoll, who is a quarterback for an NFL team
Florida
out in Houston. He was Florida, he's now
used
in
to play for
Houston.
Florida. Come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Well, I'm not a sports guy, so I'm like interviewing this guy with Ken Patel, who's the founder and CEO of EV Hotels, and I'm like, "Oh, so tell us, what do you do, Jeff?" And everyone like around us, because we had a pretty good crowd around, like kind of looked at me like I was an idiot, and he was kind of shocked too. And then he went into it. I was like, "Oh wow, all right, so cool. I've had a NFL player on the show. That's awesome. They didn't expect that, but yeah,
Yeah,
overall, really, really good.
those are always funny moments. They can be humbling sometimes for the person. I think not everyone knows who
Oh
they
yeah,
are.
oh
Um,
yeah. He
you're like,
was shocked, and at the end, he was like, "Hey man, that was cool." I was like, "All right, sweet,
yeah, can't help it.
yeah,
Not
yeah."
everybody's going to know who a backup quarterback is.
Seriously, but again, that's what I get for also not being a sports person. I don't follow along very much.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't.
Yeah. Oh well, struggle. But outside of that, I would say high tech was good. In person events are definitely great. I'm exhausted from traveling, and you know how conferences go. The late nights, early mornings, a lot of standing on your feet. But yeah, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
You also burn the candle at both ends, Will. Some of it's self
Yeah.
inflicted.
Hey, I did play it safe on the last night before my flight. I went to bed at like 10 o'clock. So that was nice.
That's a good time to go to bed.
Yeah, seriously.
I will go to
Um,
bed probably 8 today.
yeah, yeah. So I'm curious to know from all the topics at hand with travel, you know, I we're not seeing as many delays now, but we're seeing a lot of layoffs, and we're seeing, the employee slash workforce shortage is still a real play. Um, with that being said, in person's coming back, flights are happening.
Well, let's
What's
touch on the layoffs too, because it was
yeah,
announced this last week. Some more companies, I think it's Wonder John.
yeah,
Um,
Wonder Giant seizes.
they went away, and then Sonder, we've already touched on, had a bunch of layoffs. Avant Stay had a round of layoffs as well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's tough to say if it's because of the economic environment or because VCs pumped a bunch of cash into companies that weren't fiscally sound.
Mm.
And you see it in startups all the time. They grow a bunch and then they do some layoffs, and then they grow a bunch and they do some layoffs. It's, you can call it growing pains, you can call it bad hires or bad strategic management. Maybe the economy plays into it some. I'm sure it does a little bit,
Hmm.
with it being harder to fundraise. But I mean, Avant Stays raised hundreds of millions of dollars, as has Sonder, as has yada yada. Um, Wonder John, I don't think had raised more than a few million, but it's not going to be the last, guaranteed. We're going to see more companies go belly up. We're going to see more companies get, air quotes, acquired, where they're just selling whatever remaining assets they have, and it's not actually an acquisition. They're just, being able to say
Trying to
they were acquired.
yeah.
So it's just the beginning, man. It's gonna go on for the next 12 months, maybe longer, of layoffs or closing the doors. So the rich will get richer. The people who were once feeling really good because they had war chests of money are now 20% lighter in staff. More people are doing more jobs, which means more turnover is going to happen, which means quality of product is probably going to go down. It's just it's going to be a challenging ride. COVID was one thing, but economic times is a whole nother game.
Yeah.
When you've got stocks like Sonder, who opened at over $1 billion and now we're trading it between 200 and 300 million market cap. That's a struggle.
Yeah.
You don't get back to that opening price overnight. It's going to take years probably, um, if they can pull it off. So I hope they do. I mean, I personally want just about everybody in this space to do well and succeed, because we all gain steam from others' successes. And if
Yeah.
you're rooting for your competitor to fail, that's the wrong move. You
Hmm.
want them to succeed because that makes you more valuable.
Hmm.
So you see some people online, and I'll not necessarily reference names here, but they just like to do all over other people's bad happenings.
Yep.
There's no room for that in the space. I wish some people would grow up and let their business do the talking, and you don't have to kick people while they're down, or try and build yourself up any more than need be, because it's going to be a rocky few years, and you don't know if it's going to be you next. So,
Yeah.
we've talked about profitability on the show before. Work towards it. That's,
Yeah.
if you can be profitable, you can survive the storm. And if you can't be profitable, hopefully you've got a war chest of money to get through it.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was like, for the people that are, doing all over their competition, they're the ones that I would consider not to be profitable yet. They're still taking tons of money of private equity just in order to grow and grow and grow. And I wouldn't say that they're profitable. I wouldn't say that they're, turning actually a real actual money yet. Um, from
I mean,
from what we know, from yeah,
yeah, I can't say one way or another there, because I don't have any insight. But
yeah,
I mean, people, you can still run a really good business, and there's just no sense in kicking people while they're down.
for sure.
Look, there's people in the space that I don't necessarily like or get along with. There's not many. I
Mhm.
like most people, but I still wouldn't wish, upon my biggest competitor just to fall
Yeah.
off the face of the earth. Because what does that do for your market? It makes all of us look bad. You know, if you're a big property management company and your biggest competitor goes belly up, you're probably not going to get that next round of funding, because when they're looking around the room and seeing what's happened to other people, it's a challenge. Unless you're profitable, you got to be able to prove profitability, and if you can do that, then you're in great shape.
Yeah, 100%. There's
Hashtag
a lot
Simon.
happening.
Shout out Simon.
Hashtag Simon Levin. Yeah. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I want to. I was reading a stat, and I read it on the plane last night, so I don't remember if it was exact number, but basically Amazon, like, just getting out of all these leases on storage space. I think they got rid of like 30 million square feet of warehousing. And it was due to Americans' consumption rate, right? Like, they're not buying as much, right? We're not purchasing out, like, we're still using Amazon. Like, I know they're not going to go out of business anytime soon, but the fact that they got rid of 30 million square feet of warehousing because they just don't need the inventory. And that's not going off of today's spending. They're seeing future trends of, okay, we're gonna have this much inventory in 6-12 months. This is unneeded. We don't need to waste this money. And so I'm curious to see if it's just a 6 to 12 month thing where we're not going to be spending as much. Because that's a big sign and indication. If we're not spending as much on material items, things that come to our house, things that we use maybe on a daily basis. A lot of people I know, like especially myself, I have a lot of my home items on subscription. So I just let that come every month, every 2 months, whatever it may be. If they're not using it as much, plus all the other random things that we all kind of impulsively buy on Amazon, then I wonder what the impact will be on travel and when it comes to spending the prices that we're spending on airlines and on hotels or short-term rentals, all the above. Because if we're not spending as much on our home items, are we going to be willing to pay these prices that we're paying for travel, especially when we're not getting as great of service?
I mean, flight costs right now are insane, but it's, people haven't traveled in a summer in a long time, so they've saved up. They're willing to spend more. Will they be willing to do the same next summer? Probably not. I mean, it's going to slow down. Inflation's going to hit. Layoffs are going to happen. People are going to be starting to shore up on cash versus on debt, like we saw in the past 2 years, really, with interest rates so low. So it'll be a rocky couple of years. Like, if you don't expect it to be a rocky couple of years, you're probably not going to survive, quite frankly. So lower your burn, try and shore up cash as much as you can, and try and see opportunity in it too. So in every downturn, there's big opportunity. You just have to be brave enough to go grab it and be open enough to see it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And who knows what will come out of it? I think we've seen a lot of big companies come out of a recession and an economic downturn. So maybe companies currently existing can come up with some creative ways to really form something different and change the path and trajectory of their either industry or just overall company as a whole, for the next economic rise. But from that, I'm curious, before we wrap up the episode, what's your tour look like for Scotland? How many properties are you gonna be checking out? What's kind of the agenda while you're there?
Yeah, this is the first stop of, I think, 14 that we'll be doing. So over the next 4 or 5 days, it'll be busy all over Scotland, from East Lothian, where I am now, to Glasgow, to Aberdeen, and through Edinburgh, of course. So I might not look refreshed on Monday again. It'll be a long week, but it'll be a lot of fun. These properties are gorgeous. They just draw you in with, the stories that they can tell, and that you hear from the managers and the owners of these properties. So yeah, if you happen to own a castle or a hotel that's rather historic in Scotland, reach out. Now's the time.
Yeah. Hashtag storied.
Find us.
I'll find us. I love it. Well, awesome. I think that's a good way to wrap up the episode. We're a little bit early today. Again, very much a recap highlight of the last couple of weeks and just kind of what's poopery. There we go. Poopery. Just kidding. No, really excited. And so I was going to say quick shout out for the conversation of events. Wow, we're both struggling. I need more coffee. For events, there's a lot more coming up this year that I know of, but I need to give a shout out, shameless plug, to the Book Direct show coming up here in October in Miami in partnership with Damian Sheridan and myself. We're doing the Book Direct show, the Destination Air Awards. It's going to be a 2-day event, October 18th, 19th, and the last day will be the 20th. And we're going to do awards. We're going to do a lot of good speaker sessions. We got Matt Landau. We got Amber Hurdle, Heather Bayer, a bunch of cool people from the industry showing up to really bring some education and good conversation around Book Direct and less reliance on OTAs, not getting completely away of them, but less reliance is a big key. And so really excited for there's Damian right now. Boom, baby. What's that thing that he does? He does like a little snap. I love it. So yeah, really excited for this conference. If you hadn't gotten your tickets, the early bird special is done, but I know that you get them today. It's still going to be early bird-ish because prices are always going to be going up as we get closer to the event. So make sure you get your tickets. I'll put a link in the show notes for everyone who's listening or watching the replay. And I can't wait to see everybody in Miami, and especially Golden. We're going to go live in Miami. It's going to be great. Can't wait.
As long as I'm in bed by 10.
Hey, we'll get you in bed by 10:30 at the latest, okay?
Deal.
All right, cool. All right, well, thank you, everybody, for watching the live. We had a lot of people on LinkedIn today. And thank you, Mr. Golden, for powering through the lack of sleep and getting on the show this morning.
Of course, man. Wouldn't miss it.
Love it. All right, everybody. See you again next week.